What is up, guys? Welcome back to another video. Today we're back working on the MK6 R and I've found a full APR RSC system for the car. It should be pretty good. So come over here and follow me and I'll show you. So on the floor here we have it down here. We've got the center section, downpipe and the rear box, as you call it. Currently in the car, which you guys wouldn't have seen, is we did a downpipe with a 200 cell cat with no res. I can't remember the brand off my head, but it's a locally Australian brand from Melbourne. It's an okay downpipe, it fits good, but I just wanted to get something that was known and trusted, and also to have the same catback and same downpipe together. It just fits up really nicely. So didn't plan on doing this so quickly, but it came up and I couldn't really pass up the option. So here we are. So we're going to pull the MK6 forward, put it on jack stands, start getting everything out of it that we need to, and start bolting this in. So I'm going to pull the car forward and put it up, and we'll come back to you once it's in the air. Thanks, guys. Alrighty, had Luca give me a hand. We've just laid out the exhaust all the way through to the back. So as you can see, downpipe, we've got our mid pipe with the cat and res. And then this is another resonator. It's got some tricky technology in it, apparently. And then we come back through to the rear muffler, which technically is like a straight through pipe here with a recirculative through vacuum pressure, and then goes out the rear end. So when you're on full gas, it doesn't go through that muffler. And then when you let off, it uses vacuum to pull it through there, apparently. I don't really understand the technology on how it all works, but it makes it quiet on off throttle, and then on throttle it gives a good note. So 200 cell cat, res, muffler. So should sound great. I've seen a lot of videos online of the DSG version, never on a manual, like the two-door. So we will see how we go. I'm very interested to see the sound, the note, and how loud it is. So let's jack this bad boy up in the air and see how we go.
All right, so as you can hear, Ed is jacking up the car now.
Jacking off the car, yeah.
Jacking off the car, absolutely. We've already got this side on the stands. So what we're doing now, to get to the downpipe and turbo, which is in the back here, we've got to undo all the bolts for the intake and take all of this piping off. So you've got this bolt here, all the clamps and whatnot, take that sort of thing off so we get better access over the top for the turbo bolts on the back of the downpipe, and we shall go from there.
Alrighty, so bit has happened since you last saw. Obviously on the ground here we've got the battery tray. Inside here now you can see the intake is gone, which is normally wrapped around here. We've taken the battery out just to give us a bit more room, and then I've also disconnected the O2 sensor, which plugs up here on the firewall. So down here we have the downpipe, which you can see runs all the way down to the bottom of the car. We've got the drive shaft as well.
This little piece here.
Yep. And our next step, we've got 4 bolts on the top, and then we need to get underneath the car and undo the drive shaft, which runs all the way through the back, and disconnect the rear exhaust.
It's pretty hard to see those bolts, but you can see 2 of them.
Yeah. So
2 of them in shot there.
I got my finger in there. One just there, and then there's another one behind that.
One right
None
there.
down there. As you guys can see, a little bit hard to point out, but once we sort of get there, we'll keep going with you guys. Also to note, we did remove the sensor for the MAF, so we can just tuck that off to the side and we can plug that back in after. So our first step, we're going to undo all these 4 bolts. Second step, remove the catback, and then third will be to take out the drive shaft, and then we can unbolt the downpipe from the subframe and then pull it out and start putting the new system in. Alrighty guys, so as you can see, we're now underneath the car. The exhaust is gone. All that's left is the down piece from the turbo on the other end. We're undoing the drive shaft at the moment. So we've got 3 10mm, I think these are triple spline bolts. They're like a 12.10 mil. So you can get a set of them from Bunnings or any auto store. So we're gonna remove 3 from here, There's another 3 at the top in the back of the transfer case. And then in the middle of the car, there's 2, I think, from my head, 16 mils that we've got to remove for the bracket that holds the middle section, and then we can slide this whole thing out. So I'm going to get to undoing all these bolts. Down the other end of the car is all the other stuff that we've just pulled out, and I'll show you once everything's out of the car.
Slurp the monster.
Alrighty guys, so behind you, everything is out of the car now. So you can see on the floor, we have the downpipe, mid-pipe, and the old catback. We have the drive shaft, which is still on the floor, left at half under just so it doesn't move, because you don't want to get this out of balance in here. Otherwise, if you do, then you'll have all heard of pain. So left that there so it doesn't get out of balance. We have the new downpipe or section to go in first, and we're going to throw the
Drive shaft.
The drive shaft back in, and then the mid pipe, and then the rear section. So we're going to get to this now. I'll just explain a little bit up the front here that what we've done. So might be able to get there with the camera with Luca there. You can see the back of the turbo now.
You can see the little
Just
circular
here.
piece in the side there. We're also going to check to make sure there's no play in the turbo wheel as well in a minute here.
Yep.
And aside from that, we've kept the turbo gasket on there because we don't have one for the APR system itself.
Yep, but we already put a new one in for the Ants Performance system, so it's only about a month old, and the car's been driven probably 3 times at max. So there's not been much heat in it, so should be good to go. I mean, obviously if we get an exhaust leak, we'll just pull it off and put a new one in. It's not a big deal at this point in time. So we'll see how we go, but there was no play in it, and it's not flexed at all, so it should be sweet. What else? If we have a good feel of the turbine, wherever it is.
Just on the inside, yeah, right there.
There is absolutely zero play in the turbine, so we're sweet to go and give this thing a tune again. So this car, just a quick backstory, is tuned for APR Stage 2 Plus, so it owns the licensing maps, so we can still go back and get that. We just have to log our details through APR and get the map sent to the allocated tune that we like to go to. So it'll be over at 999 Automotive in Brisbane. So let's whack this downpipe in and the mid-pipe and all the rest of it. And we'll come back to you with a startup clip. So, righty, so we're back. The downpipe is now in. We've also put back in the drive shaft to the rear axle. If you guys come over here, you can see now we have the plug back up here for the O2 sensor. This is actually a new O2, so this exhaust come out of a car with only 20,000 kilometers on it. So I think it's best that we reuse the O2 that was provided with it, rather than reusing the old one, because I don't know how many Ks are on it. And this one also doesn't have a dent in the plug where the other one did. So all that required is for this one is just snap it back into there. You get your hook up, and then back over on the metal piece down here, clip that in so it's away from the downpipe. And then there's one plug right here. Unfortunately, my clip is broken, but just push them together. And because of the water seal, it shouldn't pull back out. But I will attend to that at some point and get a new wiring harness. But that's fine. That's all back together. Our next step is to do the mid-pipe and then the back box. So we've also torqued the bolts on front and rear for the drive shaft to make sure it's all good to go. And we'll come back to that shortly. So let me get the mid-pipe, cat installed, and then we'll come to the back box.
All right, so we've just put on the back box of the car and just did a bit of fitment. Got those on there. You can see the lovely APR logos on the back there. It's just tightening up the lower bolts there. Just done a test fitment. Let's go over to the side here, so you can see.
So last one to do is the middle clamp. The front one's already done up, so that one should be sweet. We'll give it a quick snug after this, just to make sure. But I gotta say, the insane quality of APR is amazing.
Yeah, it is a very nice system.
And also the fitment, like we haven't had to fix anything. Like we just put it on and made sure that it lined up to where it used to sit, like, because obviously this was fitted what looks like before by a shop.
Yeah.
Because obviously this one's already pre-done up. It's in a great spot. And you can see here when we snugged it up, we just put it straight to the line of where it was previously. And it's all fitted, like if you put your hands around the drive shaft and everything, there's nothing touching. In the middle, the cat, like everything seems to be perfect. And the only thing we've got left to tighten up is the O2 button.
Yeah, and the best thing is like there's no, when you look at the shifting cables, when you look at the shifting cables here, there's nothing touching the downpipe, whereas the last one, it would occasionally touch the downpipe would touch these two cables here that would move your shift points. So that's a really good little thing there to make sure that the shift cables aren't getting melted through, especially because there's some...
Alrighty guys, so the car's back on the floor as you can see. It is now back on the floor. Intake in, everything's tightened up down there. We've got the O2 sensor plugged up, battery's back in the car, so everything should be working as normal. Obviously we're going to have to fix a couple things with the battery being unplugged. The catback and downpipe is now in and all snug and tight. So I've just gone through, bolt checked everything. The only thing we're missing, which is a bit unfortunate, was when I bought it, is the bracket that holds it onto the subframe. It's not detrimental to the system, but it would be nice to have. So I'm going to see if I can track one down, or if the owner that I bought it from still has it and just unfortunately didn't put it in the box when I bought it. So that's cool. Everything else is nice and tight. We've also fixed the intake because we had a nice dent in it here, just from this clamp, because it is an upgraded clamp from what comes in the box. So it seems to keep denting it, because the normal ones are like a 7mm. This is like an 8mm with a huge head on it. Other than that, nothing too crazy to do. I think we should start it up. So I'm going to get Luca behind the car so he can get a good sound on it, and we'll see what happens.
Fire away, RIP eardrums. Solid.
Sounds very nice. Alrighty, so the car is now on. Now, do note this system is going to be quieter than a stock system with a downpipe on cold start, because the system only opens due to the fact of like pushing out stuff. So that's normal. It is meant to be quiet on startup. We do have a bit of smoke coming from the downpipe. It hasn't been used in a long time. It's been sitting for about 8 years, I'm pretty sure, I've been told. So it is going to smoke on startup until it gets hot and it's burned off all the oils that are on it. So let's go take her for a quick spin. Let's see what she sounds like. And I'm going to get Mitch on the outside of the car just to give us a quick sound test. Alright, we are now back in the garage. As you can see, MK6 R is back. We did a couple test rips, which you heard before this clip, and the car sounds really good. Loving the new exhaust, so that is sweet. The old one's obviously down here and then over there as well. The tips do need to be realigned again. As you can see, they're sort of not like, they're pointing to over towards that way a little bit, so I have to undo them and realign them. It looks really sick. We'll have the little APR logos on them, so it looks cool as well. So the car is running well. There's no exhaust leaks as well, which is what was on that system, which is probably one of the reasons why I'm removing it. It just didn't seal very nice, but it was good for the money. Like, it was pretty cheap system compared to what an APR system would cost in retail fashion. That's like $1,000 downpipe versus a $2,000 downpipe, so there's not really any comparison. Other than that, it just sounded good. I've got quite a few clips of it ripping past us and just having a good time with it. So all I can say is that if you're thinking about it and you find one, buy it. It's like probably one of my favorite systems that I've heard so far. It also, to note on the fact that when you're not on the throttle, it's nice and quiet. On the throttle, it's nice and like throaty and loud. So if you can find yourself one, it sounds great, and I do recommend it. So I think that'll be it from me, and I hope you guys have enjoyed this little video on putting the exhaust in. Obviously, we've changed from an old system to a new system. One thing to note, a couple things actually. So on startup, it's not as loud, which is good for my neighbours. Thank you. 2, off throttle, it's nice and quiet. And 3, on throttle, it's very throaty and loud, gives a good punchy note, and then occasionally it gives a couple little backfires from the exhaust system. So I hope you enjoyed that. That's been the Mark 6 and the new exhaust system. And we will catch you in the next one. See you later.